while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.
Hey, welcome back to YYC Designz RC Creations. A little bit different video this week for y'all. I'm sorry it was a little late. I had a back surgery and there was a lot of pain involved with that, where I had a couple of days I couldn't do much, and so I got delayed there, and then been working on the house lately and time just got away from me. And I did have some design issues that I was trying to work through. Some of what I was wanting to do wasn't working quite the way I wanted it to, and so I basically chucked that in the scrap pile and went on and started a new part, which you will see here in the video. Anyway, so apologies for being a little bit late. This is a video on several different projects rather than just one, so hopefully there's something for everybody in here. And yeah, let's get on with it and we'll show you what we got done this time. So I wasn't thrilled with the first shot of this. Now what I did was I switched to a piece of 1-inch square stock. I will try and show that to you here. It is still really hot, guys, so I don't want to touch it. But I switched to a piece of 1-inch square stock. This is going to allow me to get the shape on the ends of the bumper where I want it here. Okay, I don't want to get my fingers near this because I just finished a whole bucket load of oxyacetylene welding. This thing is still sitting around 160 to 200 degrees. So I don't feel like cooking my finger today, but I will use the metal as the pointer if you don't mind. So what I did actually was took a chunk of this. What this is, this steel here, is actually from one of the old filing cabinets that I had in the small shop, and I just put a nice straight piece on here, clamped it down with the vice grips, and then I oxyacetylene welded it onto the bottom here so that we get that nice late 70s bumper detail here. And I'll put another couple of pieces on the top, so on each side, one here, one over here, yeah, and that will give us that nice design that the 70s, late 70s bumpers had. I also turn around and I cut out a 2-inch section to make the license plate recess, or to our British friends, the number plate recess. It recesses it about a 1/2 inch on the top and about the same on the bottom. Then I take that piece, flip it over, weld it in, and fill in the ends, all oxyacetylene welded. Then just ground it down. Obviously I haven't finished the grinding, as you can see, but I wanted to basically show you where I am to this point on the Fat Strings rear bumper. So there is the weld line, okay, and of course the bumper recess, which will also be housing a trailer hitch. Okay, so that will allow Pat to put a trailer on this rig if he wants to, because it will house a trailer hitch. He can also print up a license plate and put it in the recess. Then what I've got to do, now you're thinking, okay, well this is short. Well no, it's not. This bumper right now, as it sits, is 6 inches long, So we're going to lose a 1/2 inch off this end and a 1/2 inch off of this end due to shaping the rear bumper. And then the back will get cut out of it. Okay? And that way we get our final shape. So all we're going to be left with is the top, the face, the bottom, and of course the mounting struts to attach it to the axial body. And the reason I went 2 inches here is because I need to be 2 inches, 2 1/8 inches to mount my posts. So I have to be able to mount my posts just outside this recess when I cut the back panel off. So that's why only 2 inches. Besides, aesthetically, it works really well at the 2 inch mark. So yeah, the posts to mount it will actually go right here, and they'll get welded on to where I filled it in here, and then come out the back and be mounted onto the axial frame of this bomber Bronco. So I got to carry on with welding these pieces on and shaping it, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so for the exo cage on Little Red, like I said, I'm going to use tubing. Well, I ended up, to be honest with you, I have had a whole bunch of 1/4 inch brass brake line tubing out in my shop for decades upon decades. My dad and I bought it years and years ago to fix my original car, or well, I shouldn't say my original car, my first car, which was a 1967 Fairlane 500 Ranchero. And I'm going to have to show you all a picture of it one of these days. The thing was just gorgeous. Actually, I will take a picture and put it up in here somewhere so y'all can see it. Anyway, what we had done was the car had been in a wreck, and we were auto body repairmen, obviously. This is when we owned the body shop here in town. And so we bought the salvage from the original owner, and we restored the car, top to bottom, front to back. The only thing we didn't do was rebuild the engine. Though the engine was rebuilt, we did not rebuild it ourselves. We weren't mechanics, we were bodymen. But putting in brake lines is pretty basic work. So I use the tube bender over here, okay, to bend a lot of the tube. Obviously, I use the pipe cutter to cut it and that sort of thing. But basically, I turn around and I'm using this 1/4 inch brake line tube, okay, and I'm just zooming it in here for you so y'all can see a little bit better. This is going to be the door that I was telling you all about. Now, I haven't made the final cut on here, but all these pieces do fit together rather nicely. So there's the door, and I've also got complete the right side piece, which will go on the model something so. Alright, now it's going to go through the fender and down onto something far more solid under here, obviously, so it will actually be not only a I guess you can say an aesthetic exo cage, it will also be a functional exo cage. So, apologies for the glare on that. Basically, I've put the bends in that I need, and so I have the right and left top rails for along the roof line of the vehicle. Then I have the back pieces which will go down and eventually connect into the bumper. So basically, if you look at the right one here, what's going to happen is it will go so. Of course, the door will be see if I can move this with one hand since my other hand is full of the other pieces. The door will go in well, you get the idea. The door will go in something similar to there. Okay, and of course the rest of the pieces now that I've already cut, like I said, the left side, but the rest of the pieces now, one will go across the hood and along in front, one will go across the back, which will be just above the upper part of the lift gate, and I have yet to cut the pieces that will eventually protect the windshield and protect down the sides of the truck. So basically this is what you're going to have. I will have a piece coming down here going down to the frame to protect the side of the truck, a piece here going across the hood and protecting that, and then up top here I will be adding one to protect the driving lights on Little Red. Okay, so this hood piece that I was talking about will actually go across here. Okay, another piece will cross here, another piece will come down probably right, well no, actually I'm not going to put one there, I decided it was here. I'm going to put one down to the rear pillar here and connect it back and try and figure out a way to wrap it around or something. You know, I really haven't decided the full scope of the thing yet, but I am also going to cross the roof to protect the roof, and like that. So yeah, basically just a full exo cage on the whole truck. And that way Little Red will basically forever be protected from any major exterior damage anyway. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to basically, considering it's brass, I'm just going to take my little propane torch and I'm just going to solder all my joints, and that'll be that. Yeah, so hopefully I get this done for this video. If I don't, it's at least it's good on the update anyway, and y'all know what's going on in the shop. Yeah. So for Dodgezilla, I have formed the roof panel. As you can see, it's got a nice curve to it and everything else. It fits the back panel that we made in the last part very nicely. Gives it that nice shape. And I've made the side panels for the what they call the cab corner panels. Okay, same material, just shaped it all out. Put in the recess for the door, for the lock plate, because of course we're going to have something to attach so that we can open and close these doors, and it will all go together nicely. So try and move you around here, give you a little bit better look at it. Okay, and we'll have to cut the rear window out of the back cab panel, of course, and we also have to make sure that everything gets attached. Okay, so I've got to attach all of this yet. I haven't decided whether I'm going to rivet or weld it with oxyacetylene, but either way, we've got these bits made for Dodgezilla. So I didn't bother showing it to you. It's just basically 20 gauge tin and shaped into the piece the way I need it. I obviously have to round this out a little more. It's not a flat edge, so I've got a little bit of body work to do here on Dodgezilla, and I'm using the box to hold the roof panel in place so y'all can see it. A little bit more body work to go, as I said, but Dodgezilla is progressing nicely, yeah? Okay, so Dodgezilla, as you notice, has kind of a wonky front end going on. Now you're obviously looking at a picture on my cell phone, so I'm videoing my cell phone at the moment to give you an idea of the goofiness on the front end of Dodgezilla. Now I say goofiness, but it happens to be a very cool line leading into what was a very iconic grill for Dodge. Okay, but that line happens to carry back into the doors. That's why I have not started the doors yet. I'm moving on to the grill. In moving on to the grill, I have cut out a panel here. Now it's the same width. Here's the hood. Sorry about a bit of noise there, but there's the hood. So as you notice, it's a little wider than the hood. Yeah, that's because these edges are actually going to get folded back. This grill, you're looking at it upside down actually. There's my marking lines there. Okay, so these are going to get folded back. I initially put a slight angle in them, and I'm going to do away with that just for ease of assembly, really. Also for ease of assembly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece of 1/2 inch by 1/8 wall square tubing behind the bottom of the grill, so. All right, now that does two things. That allows Lee at Bull Gear to attach whatever method he wants to attach this body to his frame. Now, I can make him posts, and we can find a way to attach them, or he can buy posts, drill through and attach them, or you can use those little fork dealies that go in and attach on the sides of the frame the way the aftermarket stuff does. You guys know what I mean. Now I'm talking about attaching the body to the chassis, yeah? The same will be done with the box. I'm going to leave the option open for Lee to drill the box and put it right into the frame, which is how I do it when I put my bodies on. And that way I use 4 screws and I just attach the body right to the frame. Same as the cab. Now I just screw it right onto the frame. I find works best. But some guys don't like that, yeah? So I'm gonna have to talk to Lee, and we'll see what he wants to do with that, see what turns him on and which way he may want to go, or I can leave it open for options. Now the other thing I'm going to do is take this. This is 1/4 inch square steel stock. I'm going to start making a frame that's going to form basically a rad support and come back and support all the panels in the cab. Now that's how I do it, and I attach my panels to the framing. So that's what I'm going to start moving on with now. The grill, of course, I will put the design in it, and it will be drilled for the headlights and all of that. Now this is the difficult part on this body, okay? If we expand this picture out nicely, now you see that the headlights are actually formed out of the grill here. So what I'm going to do is, on my grill, I will drill this out and I will form a headlight here, and we'll cut out for the marker light, for the signal light, and that way when Lee wants to go about it, maybe we can find some aftermarket lights, possibly off of a Jeep. I'm thinking might actually work for this rear, or for this front signal light on here. The headlight, I know you can buy little headlight buckets like this, and a lot of the axials I know come with a lot of the spare parts. Now they happen to be plastic, but it's just a headlight, so it's no big thing. But you could put the plastic headlight in there, I will measure out what I have for parts, and I may actually take and mark the headlight on the grill, drill it out, and then hammer and dolly this ring into here. Now on this grill, this was a separate part. I happen to know as an auto body repairman, you bought this ring, and actually you can see it right there is one of the screws that attaches this ring. There were two, one on either side. Or pardon me, on the D200 there were three, pardon me. There was one here, and one down below, and it actually screwed into three tabs that protruded from the grill, and you bought this ring separately. But I have to replicate that. So in replicating it, I'm going to hammer and dolly it out, and that way it looks as authentic as possible. The other thing I've got to do in this grill now is I have to raise this edge and raise an edge all the way around here. I have to mark it all out, and then I have to hammer and dolly in this ridge for the grill, okay, so that we can do these cutouts and put a little door screen behind there. Okay, actually there wasn't anything behind there, it led directly to the red. So to stay true to realism, you wouldn't even put bug screen back there. Sorry about the camera there. You wouldn't even put bug screen back there if you wanted to stay true to realism. So what I'm going to do is I've got to mark all this out now, and then I've got to do some fancy hammer and dolly work and hammer and dolly this grill into the, or out of this piece of tin. And then, like I say, I will be attaching it to the 1/2-inch square tube, just a nice little oxyacetylene weld. I'll just tack it on in spots, and we will have the grill, we will have a chassis mount, and then of course with the 1/4 inch we will have the frame of the body of Dodgezilla. So that's what I'm going to move on to now. Alright, so while I'm not the world's greatest artist, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Let me move some stuff here, get it out of your way, so that we can kind of see if we can get them both on camera at the same time. And get as close as we can. It's fairly close, okay? A little bit more work and I'll have it. It does take quite a while to get these pieces to look exactly as they should, yeah? And with the glare off the light, it's not the greatest either. You're not getting a true picture the way I am seeing it, I don't think. Try and flatten it out, but that gives you an idea of where we go with it, okay? And then when you take one of the fenders, line the fender up next to her here. See if I can do this with one hand. And not the greatest idea because my hand's in the way, unfortunately. But that's basically what you'll be looking at, is the fender glues on the side there. And yeah, so there's a real good head start on Dodgezilla's grill, and I just got to keep going with some very tiny, delicate hammer and dolly work, and pull out what I call my tinking hammers, which are hammers I use in engraving to get even finer detail put in. I do actually use a few of my gravers. Instead of having them all sharp, I've actually blunted the tips on them, and I use them to get the finer details in these areas. Like this little guy here has got to be put in, right? That little line that's just above my fingertip has to be put in here, and one on the other side. That all takes a much finer hammer than what y'all just saw me working with. So there we have a whole bunch of parts for Dodgezilla. I kind of ran out of time to get the frame going, but that will happen on another video, and we will get the frame going and start putting Dodgezilla together. While I didn't get done as much as I wanted to get done, it kind of made for a long enough video anyway, putting all three of the projects together like that. And it's one of those things where it happens and I just ran out of time. These small parts, when you're hand forming them, like Dodgezilla, does take a lot of time. The exo cage on Little Red, even though it's not really an ongoing project, I thought it was something you might be interested in. I had had a few comments on it, and a couple of people wanted to see how I was going to do it. I will do another video on that, showing how it comes along and how it all comes together, and I will show the work, as in the soldering and other bits and pieces of it, so that y'all can follow along with that and see the final exo cage all assembled, all on the vehicle. There will be one more video, of course, at least one more, on the Fat Strings bumpers, so don't panic, Pat. Y'all will get to see the bumpers completed and finished. And I've got some more welding to do on the rear step bumper, so there will be at least one more video on that. And of course there's a lot of work left to be done on Dodgezilla, so there's going to be a few videos left in that project series, as well as we have Voodoo, London Calling, and Moose are coming back. Now that I am getting at least a little bit caught up, and I've got better ideas of what I want to do with Moose in London, I can continue on. And even though I can't afford the actuators yet, I can still continue on with the fabbing of the parts and getting the vehicles at least looking like they are models instead of just piles of scrap metal. So there's videos coming up on that. The double cabin cruiser projects are still ongoing, and we're going to start getting into some of those, as well as Captain Goddard MSM, which does stand for Meritorious Service Medal, by the way. It is a Canadian Coast Guard hero ship, so we will be continuing on with her as well, in honor of Captain Nicola Goddard, who is a fine, well, was a fine young woman who sacrificed her life for this great country of ours, Canada. And we are very proud and honored to do the model. And here's Maddie in for a visit. Here's Maddie in for a visit. She happened to knock my mic off, but hey, she's just a baby. But let's see if we can get her a little closer up here on camera for you, instead of just top of her head. No, she's just busy playing. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys and girls, and we'll catch you in the next ones. I'm Twist, and of course my #1 assistant Maddie for YYC Designs, RC Creations. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.